Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Now What Next Steps podcast here at Malibu Pacific Church. Hey, we just wanted to say Happy Memorial Day, everybody. It just happened this past weekend, and we had our online-only service celebrating the brave, celebrating the volunteers. And if you haven't watched that sermon yet this past weekend, it is online, available for you right now.
So the online service is online? Okay, great.
Okay, good.
I don't know, just clarify.
Well, no, I'm glad our marketing team really worked on the online part.
Our online service is online, everybody.
And you can find that on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you get your online church from. With that said, it's me, Joel, and we have...
Andy.
Hey, Andy. Andy, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you weren't really gone in our hearts, but you were.
I was gone.
You were gone.
I was gone. Did a week of study leave, planning for the summer and actually the fall, and actually a lot of just reading as well. Just getting recharged up, and 4 books actually that I've been wanting to read.
Oh, nice.
On discipleship. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah, be ready for that. I think we want to be a church that is making disciples, so got caught up on what's happening and what the latest is.
That's awesome. Any titles you'd want to share, or you want to keep them?
Well, you're going to be hearing a lot of this, but Practicing the Way from John Mark Comer was just really huge.
Awesome.
And reread it and marked a lot of things out as far as underlying a lot of things. Actually underlined a lot of things that I think some one-liners that we could put on our website as well. But anyway, that's he has summarized a lot of other people and what they have said. He's just, I think, done the best job in summarizing what discipleship is and how that term has gotten out of alignment, and we are missing it as a church. So he just does a great job summarizing what true discipleship is, which means following the way of the rabbi, walking in the steps of the rabbi, and what Jesus intended by discipleship.
That's
so it's
awesome.
good. Yeah,
that's so good. The listeners want to know, any fun reads? Like, did you listen to Twilight or anything? Or read Twilight?
No, I didn't do any fun reads. I didn't.
Okay.
It's boring to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something new.
I don't just
read
that.
for...
I love reading history. I love reading theology and leadership books.
For sure.
Actually, those are my entertainment. My wife loves novels, and I just think they're boring. I start going through it, and I'm like, I'll wait for the movie.
You wait for but the book is always better than the movie.
Okay. I love the movie.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, you hear it here first, everybody. All right, so we're coming off our online service, and I wanted to ask the question. I know COVID really shifted all of the churches to online, but now there's kind of like this balance of, we've seen some churches get rid of their whole online department, and then other ones that have like doubled down. And under your leadership, you've been saying, hey, we are going to be taking strategic times throughout the year, twice a year, to be online only. And I wanted to ask, where does that come from? Like, thinking through of seeing other leadership styles or other churches doing things, like, why is it that Malibu Pacific Church specifically takes 2 services a year?
Yeah.
Possibly 3, depending on the year.
That's right.
To be online strategically.
Well, John Mark Comer, but it's not his idea with Practicing the Way. One of his big things is the Sabbath. And I think it's important to have a Sabbath or a day off from the regular pace of life. And we're giving our volunteers a Sabbath, a rest. So it takes, 50 plus volunteers to make our weekend work. And so we want to give them a day off.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle, especially for my wife, Kelly, who's doing our children's ministry, to find volunteers, especially for those days.
For sure.
So you're like, well, we're sitting in here. Why can't we have church? And you're not being religious or something. That tells me you don't volunteer, do you, here? And you're not volunteering in the children's ministry.
Yeah.
And so I know you love sitting in the seats, but hey, there's a lot of other things happening
going on
that we need in order to make the church function that day. So I don't have a problem. I mean, I think it's biblical to take a Sabbath, give our volunteers a break.
Yeah.
And stay at home and watch the service with your family. I mean, how good is that?
Absolutely.
So we have the tools and technology to do that.
Yep.
And that's it's really for the volunteers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comments that I had from a family over the weekend that I saw, and they're a family that might be moving back into the area, and was like, we were really excited to come to church, on site. And of course, it's the one weekend we're not there. And I asked the question, wait, but did you watch it online? And I said, or they said, yes, we did. And I was like, what'd you think of that? And they said, oh, we absolutely loved it. Oh my gosh, it just made us realize that we can connect from anywhere. And I was like,
that's good.
Oh, so and almost like a light bulb that went off. So they were bummed that it wasn't happening, but at the same time they were just so thrilled that there was that option, because this family, to be honest, they travel a lot, and so it's great when they're here. It's not a knock; it's just awesome, their life and stuff like that. And so they realized that they could stay connected to a local body of where they're going to be moving to really soon. Exactly, wherever you go. And we have a whole online church team that's there, but also a whole online church community. We're realizing that in the chat rooms as well. We're seeing people over and over who watch it just strictly online every single Sunday, and are super grateful and thankful to be in the room with us. So
that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that we have the online church. Love that we get to do it online for
And we're not thinking either or. We're thinking both and.
Exactly.
So it's not online only or on site or in person. It's a both and.
Yep.
And because we have those tools now, let's leverage them. Mm-hmm. And we gain, and we're thanking our volunteers and saying, thank you for serving every week. Take the Sunday off. And we know you're traveling anyway. And so,
totally.
Yeah, why not? That's really good. So it's a both and. So if you're here in person, great. If you're not, you can stay connected through the online service. But we know that we have a mobile society now, and it's a hybrid church, actually. And so it's a both and.
Yes. So one of my personal favorites of the service was when the staff was sitting around in the circle, because I had no idea what anybody was going to say. I don't think anybody really knew what anybody was going to say. And I loved that after what everybody shared, it looked like this moment of like, wow, I can't believe that everybody was sharing about their, past like children's leaders, youth leaders, camp director, whatever. You were like, wow, these things really matter. And it was just awesome to see and hear how much this staff has been influenced by children's ministry, youth ministry, camp ministry, parachurch ministry, and all the ministries inside of the church, and not necessarily the Sunday service, but what was actually going on inside of the church. So what were your thoughts on that?
No, it's just a realization how important children's ministry and student ministries are.
Totally.
I mean, it was just like, wow, okay. I say it, but this just happened right here with the staff. We've all, in a sense, been impacted in some way by
absolutely
our lives. And also the story of Ava, one of the baptism stories we showed, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
She actually was a part of the preschool. And Jim Ludwig sent me an email saying, just let you know, seeds were planted, because she also attended our preschool, and Cindy Ludwig, who is his wife, was the director of the preschool.
Absolutely.
Planted seeds.
Yep.
In Ava, that now we're seeing the fruit. So he had tears in his eyes going, actually, the seeds were planted back at the preschool. And now I'm sitting in the front row, didn't know that was going to happen. It's like, wait, that's one of the kids. And whatever the journey was, actually, those seeds that were planted, Cindy planted an anchor so deep in her heart that eventually she came back to Christ.
Absolutely.
And came to Christ.
Yep.
So don't underestimate the seeds that are planted in our children and student ministries. I just thought that was really, really great and important. And it was a realization. I mean, I believe, some people may disagree with me, but I believe the church grows, and the heartbeat of the church is our family ministries, our children and student ministries. I think people forget what I say 48 hours after I said it. I think people can take or leave music, although music's important. A sermon is important. I agree. But the heartbeat of a church is the children and student ministries. It's the family ministries. It's the entire family. So, I was just reminded of that. Actually, everybody going around the circle, we're probably all in ministry because of something
Absolutely.
a youth pastor or a Sunday school teacher loved on us and prayed for us and helped us understand the gospel and the message of Jesus and made it real for us.
Amen.
So, yeah, how important that is what a reminder.
Absolutely. And I love that you're talking about seeds being planted, because I think that that's something that is really a value here at MPC, because since we are a church for everybody in every story, is that we don't underestimate the seeds that are planted. We don't have somebody walk on campus and go, hey, oh my gosh, they're not a Christian after the first time they're here. It's like, no. Let them take their time. Like, this is a place, again, a church for everybody in every story. We're here to inspire people to explore faith and take a step with Jesus.
And stories take time.
They do.
And that's what the story is.
Yes.
Just a little plug. This weekend, we're going to talk about stories.
Nice.
Road trip.
Yep.
And really, the bottom line is our lives are a road trip.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And so when you go on a road trip or get ready to go on vacation, you come back and tell the story of that road trip. Mm-hmm. You tell all your friends the vacation you took, the road trip you took. And so really the bottom line is, what story do you want your life to be telling? Ooh. What story do you want to tell? And we're all telling a story. So this weekend we have Randall Wallace, who's going to take a few minutes and talk about what makes a great story.
So good.
But God is writing a story in your heart, and your life is a story. Really, our lives, it's a road trip.
Yeah.
And so we'll go through the story of Joseph. He went on a road trip to Egypt.
Absolutely.
And the decisions he made became the story that he ended up telling, and we're still telling that story.
Love it.
And our lives and your life is a story that will that you want to be able to share with others.
Yeah.
So what story do you want to tell from the road trip called life? Anyway, Randall Wallace, who wrote Braveheart, he's going to share a few minutes on what makes a great story.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and in case in your road trip you feel like you're stuck in Bakersfield like Joseph was at some point in his story as well, I'll tell you what, there's always redemption.
Got stuck somewhere. I need to use that this weekend. And when we go on a road trip, we may get stuck somewhere.
You might get a flat. You might feel like you can't fix the car breaks down, whatever. That's always been a big thing. So you never know. Get stuck somewhere.
Yeah. He did get stuck there for 40 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So, and then coming right before the sermon was pretty set up by the beautiful story. You're talking about Ava's story. We also have Sophia's story as well.
Yeah.
And you can find both of those stories on the website, MalibuPacific.church, or on our YouTube channel, /Malibu Pacific Church. And you can see these stories of true life transformation. And so Sophia was just so articulate. And I know we've talked about her before on this podcast about a couple months ago when we first showed that video. But I loved how you just came right out of that video just saying, invest and invite. Stories. You're saying stories matter, but you're also saying just how much life changes happened because we were making room for more as we were closing this series, Making Room for More. Was your hope to inspire everybody for more Sophia stories, or was it to celebrate, or a little bit of both and?
Oh, I think it's both and.
Both and?
Yeah, that's a win for us. So every time we share a story, I hope those of us who are followers of Jesus and love this church and committed to this church, we serve here, we give here, we are in a small group with people. That's just a reminder why we're doing what we're doing. There it is.
Yeah.
It's, touchdown.
Totally.
Celebration.
Absolutely.
So that's a win.
Yeah.
Secondly, and sharing her story with others. I think everybody's story, there's a part of it that we identify with as well. And there's nothing more powerful than a story. So I'm hoping that for the members, we can say, that's a win. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And it's encouraging to all of us. Keep going. For those of you out there who are new to faith or wondering or discovering or having questions, there's room for one more.
Always room for
There's
one
room
more.
for one more. Yeah. And you're like, well, church isn't for me. Well, there's room for one more. I'm a sinner. Well, welcome to the club. And there's room for one more sinner.
There's the chair.
Yeah, then we have an empty chair for you.
For real.
It's like, I can't go there. I'm a church person. I'm not a church person. Right. And I'm far away from, I'm religious, but I'm not churchy.
Yeah.
And don't know if church is for me. Well, welcome to the club.
Yep.
There's room for one more.
There's always room for one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were mentioning Cindy Ludwig earlier. She was our preschool teacher. She was here for 40 years.
That's what I heard. Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah, and something that she instilled in every child, and this is just funny to say, there's always room. She always said there's always room for one more friend. And so even my daughters who went through that preschool still say that as they're in 4th grade and 1st grade. They're saying like, hey, there's always room for one more friend. And I'm like, oh man, that is something. Again, that's an anchor tied to their heart and their soul.
Yeah.
So when they walk away, that they'll come back. And so I just love instilling that into people. It kind of makes me teary-eyed right now. It's so good. All right, so as we are heading to this new series, Road Trip, happening this Sunday. I know we talked just a little bit about it right now, but you kind of gave a little bit of like a little bit about what was going on with like Randall and things like that. But if people were to walk away after hearing this Road Trip series, what would be kind of like one of the major things that you would want them to just walk away from? I know that we're setting up the sermon and things like that, but
Right.
but we're kind of connecting the pieces from these last 3 sermon series, really, right?
Yeah.
So, making room for more, and now into this road trip part where you're actually doing it and it's applicable, it kind of feels like.
Well, and it has to do with purpose and what your purpose is, number one. Number two, every decision we make is a decision that we're making or going to be a part of our story that we will be telling. So the decisions we make actually, and this is Joseph, was determined by how big was his God. That if you and I believe that God is in charge, God is God, God is the Christian word here, is sovereign, in control of everything. How will that determine the decisions you make? Because when I don't believe that God's in charge, I'm going to take control. So even when God is silent and God never speaks through the entire story of Joseph, and he is the story that we have the most information about, this person, Joseph, than any other character in all of scriptures. More was written about him than any other character, and God doesn't speak. So he's in jail for 20 years, forgotten, and he stays faithful to God because the entire time he believes that God is still in charge. So when I believe that God's in charge, God's in control, I will keep making decisions based on that, you know what? I don't need to take control of my life. I don't need to manipulate a situation. God's in charge, and I'm trusting him. So I'm going to sit and wait. And he kept his faith in spite, even though circumstances I would have been forced to interpret the circumstances for myself. Like there must not be a God. Why would he allow all these things to happen to me? Versus no, God's in charge, God's in control, and I will make decisions based on that. And so I don't need to manipulate this or try to interpret these circumstances, that my circumstances don't determine whether or not God is in control. So I hope at the end of it that we would walk away saying, if God were in control of this situation, how would I respond? It's very different than, I don't know if God's here, but I better control this and fix it myself or do it my way and mess it up, versus, well, you know what? God is in control. And based on that, my response is totally different.
That is.
The other thing is, let me put it this way. This has been helpful to me for years and years and years. Character. Joseph was a person of character in everything that he did. Character is doing the right thing regardless of the cost. So I don't want to get into it, but week 2 here with Potiphar's wife, he runs away and does the right thing. He was in a catch-22 situation. Do I sleep with her or do I not sleep with her? If I sleep with her, I'm in trouble. If I don't sleep with her, I'm going to be thrown in prison. Either way, no matter what, I'm in a catch-22. But he chooses to do the right thing regardless of the cost, which means Potiphar was going to throw him in prison or have him killed. So that's character, or believing that God is in control of this situation. So I'm going to do the right thing, believing that God can be trusted, even though there's going to be consequences to this. So God honors that and honors his decision to do the right thing. I'm hoping that after this, that at the end of the day, we can talk to our grandkids and say, Daddy and Mommy, Grandma or Grandpa, Great Grandma and Grandpa did the right thing regardless of the cost, and we trusted God. I want to tell that story, that I didn't need to hide anything. That I can tell you the full truth, grandkids. Sit on my lap and I want to talk to you about our story. It's the full story.
Yeah.
And I did the right thing, trusted God, and this is how God blessed it. I want to tell that story.
Yeah.
And I believe every person wants to tell that story. Not like, oh, you know, Mom and Dad, we met.
95 through 99 was good.
Yeah.
And then 2008, let's skip to that.
Yeah, I don't want to tell that part of the story.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to be able to tell the whole story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we all do.
Yeah.
And really the story is God's story of how God came through and how God honored that faithfulness.
Yeah.
So kids, be people of character and do the right thing regardless of the cost, because God is ultimately in control. I want to tell that story.
Absolutely. Wow, that's going to be a great sermon series. It's happening for the full month of June. Road trip here at Malibu Pacific Church, online and on-site. And if you have really good character, you know, God might bless you with the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical as well, you know? So go Joe.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
With Donny Osmond. No, I'm just kidding. All right, with that said, thank you for tuning in for today's Now What Next Steps podcast. You can find us every week wherever you find and subscribe to your local podcast. With that said, we'll see you this Sunday morning, on-site or online.
Can't wait.
10 a.m., everybody. Here's a little secret tip since you're still listening. Come a little early, all right? They're fresher donuts by like 10 minutes, okay? So come a little early, hang out on the patio. It's a blast, all right? And then also hang out afterwards, because it's not just about that hour and 10 minutes and that Sunday morning. Find your people.
That's right.
You know what? They're here. All right, everybody, have an amazing week, and we will see you next time.
Take care.